It's the Dallas Stars visiting the Calgary Flames, round one, game one. Gentlemen, our coverage here on the fourth period is brought to you by BitBuy. Use referral code TFP to receive up to $50 in free crypto while terms and conditions apply, fellas. All right, look, the Flames put up 111 points this season. The last time they did that, 1989. Guess what they did that year? Yeah, they won the cup. David, we'll start with you and the Calgary Flames. When you look at this team and this series right now going in, is it the Flames series to lose?
Oh, I think without question. I mean, with the depth that they have, with the offense that they've got, the sound defense, and the fantastic season displayed by Jacob Markstrom, I don't see a scenario where they don't come out on top over the Dallas Stars. And I don't see a scenario, guys, where they don't come out on top quickly. Like I think this is going to be a really short series, and Dallas is going to have to do everything in their power to keep from getting swept in this one. I just think that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. The lack of secondary scoring for the Dallas Stars this season has been a problem, and I think what separates these two teams outside of the fantastic goaltending is the offense. And you can look at guys, you can look at Gaudreau and Lindholm and Tkachuk and say, well, they're the primary drivers, but Mangiapane had 35 goals this season. Tyler Toffoli clicked in beautifully when he was acquired by from the Montreal Canadiens, rather. So I just think this is a series that is probably the easiest one to kind of roll with, depending if UC Saros is not going to be healthy for Nashville. But DB, I just don't see a scenario where Calgary does not win this one.
Yeah, if Dallas wins, it's a significant upset at this point because what does Dallas have, right? They've got a one-line team, basically. They're not better in net. They're really streaky. I'll give them one game because they're really good at home. I think they won 27 games at home. They're an exceptional home team. They're not great on the road. But I can't give them a check mark in any facet of the game against Calgary. It's a bad matchup, right? And that's why you don't want to finish in a wild card. You want to get to the top three in the division because you face a team like Calgary who is better in every facet of the game, as I mentioned. The only question, Irf and Dave, would be, has Darryl sort of pushed this team too hard? Because that's what Darryl does. He never takes his foot off the gas.
Yep.
And he maybe the last couple of games he did. So does this team have enough emotionally and physically after a long, great run this season to continue in the postseason? I think they will in this series. We'll see what happens as the playoffs progress.
Yeah, that's actually, sorry, Irv, but I just wanted to jump in on that. That's actually a good point. I think longevity-wise, depending on how much Darryl Sutter pushes the buttons, then I think that'll determine exactly how far they go in the playoffs. But in this series, and look, I like the future of Dallas. I like Ottinger. I think he's going to be a really good goalie for them. I think Tyler Seguin's going to have a hell of a year next year in rebounding. I just don't see it this year.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at these two teams. They met in the playoffs a couple of years ago, guys, in the bubble, and the Flames led the series twice. The Stars obviously came back and won that series. Different cast of players on both sides. I do know that. But the emergence and the season that this guy had for Dallas, Dennis, in Jason Robertson, I mean, that can't go unnoticed. The kid had 41 goals.
Yes, sir. If the kid from Southern California, the guys that both the Ducks and the Kings passed on or missed on, Jason Robertson, an incredible season. That pairing with him, Roope Hintz, and Joe Pavelski has been magic. And I think the primary reason why they're in the postseason, without that production, they got no shot. Vegas would be in, they would be out. So to me, that's certainly, those guys have to produce, but it just can't be them. That's the issue and challenge with this team. A -8 goal differential during the season. It's because not from the lack of support from those three guys, but from the bottom nine. And if the bottom nine is going to produce the way they did in the postseason, I agree with Dave, it's going to be a short series.
All right, Dave, and the final one for me is for you. If you were to pick two X factors in this series, what matchup are you looking at?
Well, boy, for me, it's Calgary's first line is the primary X factor for them. If their onslaught of offense continues in this postseason matchup against Dallas, I think that's the deciding one for them. And it's secondary scoring for Dallas. If they can find a way to get those extra guys rolling, if we see and I think Tyler Seguin is going to be fine, but the other contributors off this club, if they don't get going, it's lights out.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for this. Again, game one between the Stars and Flames gets underway a little bit later on tonight.